Jay Cutler, how are you,
Yeah,
sir?
man. Good to see you, man. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Good to see you. What is life for you right now? You're retired from bodybuilding, but you still look good. What have you been doing?
I'm still involved in the business quite a bit. I'm still booked for a lot of appearances, traveling a lot, working with a lot of online things. I mean, doing a lot of media, content, promoting events, supplementation. I do it all pretty much. So I'm still super active and, enjoying life. Let's put it that way.
No, I see on your social you're doing a good job, and I love the podcast.
Mhm.
I've seen the videos on YouTube. You're doing an amazing job. Let me ask you this: I always seen the documentaries of you when you were training for Mr. Olympia and stuff like that. What were you, like? How much protein were you having a day? What was a normal meal for you? Like, let's say breakfast. What was a breakfast for you like?
Remember, I kind of built a career. So I started training at 18 and I turned pro at 23 and won an Olympia at 33. So that changed quite a bit. But we always followed a higher protein diet. So what we tried to do was take it at least a gram per pound of lean body mass. I was eating, 350, 400 grams of protein a day, which mainly came from meat and eggs, steak, chicken, turkey. I'd have 20 egg whites for breakfast. I mean, an average size meal would be 12 to 16 ounces of meat. So a lot of days I'd eat almost 4 pounds of meat a day. I was eating 6, 7, 8 times. And, the carbohydrates were outrageous. I mean, anywhere between 400 to 1,000 grams of carbohydrates a day. And the thing is the consistent eating. And as I built more muscle, I needed to eat more. So by the end, when I was winning my final Olympia, I won 4, retired in 2013. I was eating 6,000 calories a day a lot of
Wow.
days, which is a lot.
So when you're eating that much, and this is a serious question. I know it sounds weird, but on the way out, how is it like when you got to like kind of flush your system? Like, are you in the bathroom a lot, or is it just like?
You pretty much. As a bodybuilder, like it's a common question. I had one seminar I did, and I remember one kid asked, open the seminar, like, how many times do you take
Yeah.
when a day? And I'm like, man, I got to think about that for a minute. Obviously you're expelling what you put into your body some, and hopefully you're using more to fuel the muscle to get bigger. Ideally we just want to get bigger and bigger, right? So, for me it was just like I didn't count, but I was using the restroom quite a bit, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, listen, your career in the beginning stages. I mean, now we're more in the social media era. You see how a lot of people are monetizing, Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Does some part of you wish, like, man, if I was just doing this now, I could be making a lot more money? Or because there's a lot more ways to revenue streams.
It's kind of funny you say that because, of course, I adapted from a magazine guy to social media. So I remember in 2012 I started Instagram, and I never imagined it'd become what it is and have videos and live access on there. But early on I was doing DVD releases. So I actually launched, which people don't even talk about these days, DVD, right? It's all streaming now. And I had these workout videos, and they were 7 hours long, and they would showcase my lifestyle, meet and greets, everything that you could imagine. Me shopping at Costco at the time, and showing the training, and I basically documented my life. This was the early social media, so I was selling those DVDs through mail order, which I was just an ad in the magazines, and I would make almost $1 million off every DVD launch, which I was doing every single year. So I had every year a new DVD release, and then of course I adapted to social media. YouTube was available for us, and the mid to late 2000s, 2008, 7, and next thing you know, I just transitioned over, and that's how I kind of put out the day-to-day content.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, people want to see your life, and they want to know really in depth what you do, not just lifting weights, because everyone's seen the videos over and the pictures and the articles. They want to see what kind of goes into the preparation as you build and have more success, and what that kind of pivots to. So for me, it's really just kind of putting yourself out there. And someone that's an introvert, like I would honestly say I was an introvert in the beginning, that was really hard for me to do, to go on social media and post things. And I remember in my DVDs I didn't say anything. So what they see today on social media isn't what I was like 20 years ago, when I was just tunnel vision training and trying to be the best bodybuilder in the world. Remember, I was chasing down Ronnie Coleman, and I had to really work through the obstacles to get to that Mr. Olympia title, which was the pinnacle. And when I got there, I was kind of like, this is it. Like, I couldn't go anywhere
Yeah,
further.
yeah.
It was like, okay, do I win it once, twice, three? I mean, I'm not the record holder, but at the same time, I'm recognized. Once you win it once, man, you're in the history books.
Yeah, yeah. Well, right now, social media wise, we see a lot of like, and we see a lot about testosterone. That's like the hot topic this past year. And someone in your background, and I just want to know, and this, I don't judge. There's no judgmental. I want to learn. Is testosterone considered a steroid?
Of course it is. The only thing is now we have special terms called HRT, or hormone replacement, or basically replacing, especially as you get older. Studies show, okay, not exactly everyone, but testosterone levels can drop. And that can happen not only with age, but lack of diet, sleep patterns, stress. So what people are trying to do now is they're trying to replenish and find that fountain of youth. So they're actually taking testosterone to bring their levels to a healthy level. And that's what a lot of these doctors' prescriptions are doing now. The problem is society has looked upon that as like, well, you're using HRT as an excuse to be enhanced, right? But most people are just trying to replace what they lost with age or these deficits with their lifestyle.
Yeah.
But as in our case, I mean, no question, we were trying to build as much muscle as possible. So early on, the use of testosterone, when I was in my 20s, I mean, that was to build bigger muscle. There's no question. I mean, that's why I'll never say that it's not a steroid, but at the same time, is it a health factor? I believe that doing it properly and when it's necessary, I think it can be very beneficial to anyone if they're trying to lose weight, sleep better, stay fit, and also, stay motivated because, listen, lack of testosterone, in this, women also have to have a certain level also in their body that, keeps them normalized in their hormones.
Yeah. Well, you don't know this, and I just want to say, because I want to learn about you, you're very familiar with like the products out there. When we see people like The Rock and a lot of these movie stars that prepare for roles, obviously they're in insane shape. They're not athletes, they're actors, but yet again, they get in insane shape. You don't know specifically, but what do you think? What do these guys take, or to get to those roles?
I mean, listen, if we're going to talk about Dwayne Johnson, I know what Dwayne does. I mean, he's been around the fitness community. I've known Dwayne before he became really big and even wrestling. And like, I see his dedication and I know that dedication, and certain people can maintain a body. And the thing is to stay consistent. Like, you notice Dwayne really doesn't change. His physique is always, he's in shape. But one thing I can honestly say, and people may look at me different for this, but Dwayne isn't that big to me as far as he's in shape and he's cut and he's lean, but he's just a big guy. He's not super overly muscular. So when people say he's got to be taking this and that, like, I believe because of his dedication, you see him training. I mean, the gym goes everywhere with him. And his nutrition is on point. He works with some of the best people. I believe that he can maintain a great body, but there's certain roles that I'm sure some of these Hollywood people have, taken some sort of testosterone or whatever else, not to say any names, but, with dedication, you can maintain a great body. It's just the people that get overly enhanced and put on a lot of muscle, then you start to question. But there's a lot of over-the-counter supplements, just taking a basic testosterone product. Creatine, I could give you a thing of my creatine, and probably in a month you could say I'm 20 pounds bigger.
Yeah.
No lie. If you were dedicated and eating the proper foods and training consistently,
Yeah.
I believe I could put, maybe that's a thing. I can transform you into
yeah.
the next next thing.
I wish. Last question. Obviously social media wise, who's the coolest person that ever ended up in your DMs? The one you're like, oh, this is pretty awesome.
Man, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe Dwayne. I mean, we've
The
gone
Rock?
back and forth.
Yeah, The Rock. And what
yeah.
was this? Does he just like want to say hi? Or
Yeah,
just
supportive, and obviously he's followed the fitness stuff, and I mean, man, it's been a lot of guys I've looked up to, but I mean, right off the top of my head, I'd have to say Dwayne, and we used to go back and forth on Twitter a lot when Twitter was big before
Sure.
Instagram, and it's always good to get support and people that know the day in day out things that go on, and you have your role models, you have your idols, but man, I've won Schwarzenegger's show. I mean, who else is there for biggest idols in bodybuilding,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I never thought that, but I can tell a cool story. You know, my reason I started training was Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I watched Bloodsport as a kid.
Of course, I watched it on the plane here.
Next thing I know, I'm at Gold's Gym Venice, and I hope, John, I hope you watch this. I was walking across the parking lot, and I was walking into Gold's Gym Venice, and I was established at the time, and all of a sudden I hear, Jay. And as I see this person walking closer to me, I realize, holy shit, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme. And he sticks his hand out and he says, Jay, I'm a huge fan. And I was taken back because I was 12 years old watching Bloodsport, looking at his body saying, I just want to be like that, never imagining I would become the best bodybuilder on the planet. And here I was meeting Jean-Claude Van Damme.
He's the
It was
man.
pretty wild, you know. I mean, he was the man back when I was coming up in the films. Also, Sylvester Stallone, the same thing. He used to be around the fitness community, and you know, I stepped out of his limo and said, Jay, I'm a huge fan, and I watched Rocky IV. That was my, you know, he beat Ivan Drago, and you know, obviously Dolph's a lot in the fitness community too, but you know, Stallone was a huge part of my success journey, and he invited me to the Contender in Vegas when they had the Contender,
Yeah.
and I got to spend time with him and Frank, and it was awesome, man. It was a cool experience I'll never forget. So outside of DMs, just the opportunity to meet these kind of people, it's pretty wild to me.
That's awesome. Well, dude, Jay, it's good to see you still crushing, man.
appreciate it.
Congrats with the supplements. I know they're all over the place. They're killing it online,
Yes.
the podcasts, the YouTube. You're great, man. I'm a big fan and a friend. Jay, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it,
I
brother.
appreciate you guys.